Here we are, the last day of Gamera month, and there's a reason why the term "save the best for last" has meaning to it. At last, we come to Gamera 3, The Revenge of Iris, the final film in Kaneko's Gamera trilogy, the last Gamera movie we'll be reviewing in Gamera month, and the very first Gamera movie I ever saw. So let's get started. The plot to this movie is that a girl named Ayana loses her parents to the Gamera and Gauss fight in 1995. Gamera accidentally destroys one of the buildings that her parents were in, and that kills them. So she's basically had this built-up rage over the years and truly hates Gamera, which is a nice change of pace from all the kids who love Gamera and shout, "Gamera! Gamera!" So one day she enters a cave in the village where she's living and finds this egg that hatches into a creature that she's named Iris. The creature starts feeding on her anger, transforms into a giant monster, and she develops a psychic link with Iris, similar to Asagi's link with Gamera in the first two movies, and decides to send it out to kill Gamera. Meanwhile, a new species of Gauss has emerged all over the world called Hyper Gauss, and they are somehow connected with Iris, which is the reason Gamera goes out to fight Iris and all the Hyper Gauss that come to Japan. Now, third installments of a trilogy usually don't end up being very good. It's the movie that's trying to be the big finale, and just some reason, most of the time, they don't work out too well. Examples include Spider-Man 3, X-Men 3, Alien 3, Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, but you do have some exceptions. You have Return of the Jedi, Return of the King, Toy Story 3, and Gamera 3, The Revenge of Iris. This is not only a great closure to Shusuke Kaneko's Gamera trilogy, but it might actually be the best Gamera movie. It's hard to say, but it's definitely one of the best kaiju movies out there, and definitely has elements that make it on par with the 1954 Godzilla from Ishiro Honda. Now let me explain why, because if you know me, the original 1954 Godzilla is one of my favorite movies of all time. So why would I compare this to the original Godzilla? Well, for one thing, it's a very dark movie. There are a lot of consequences. It is fun, don't get me wrong, but it's not very uplifting. It's also a very gruesome movie. There's a sequence where one of the Hyper Gauss is in one of the districts in Tokyo, and Gamera comes in to try to kill the Hyper Gauss. And the Hyper Gauss has a broken crest, its eye is hanging out of its socket, and Gamera kills it by breathing fire on it, but then another one comes in and basically flies all over the area, and because Gamera is trying his best to kill it, he ends up accidentally killing over 20,000 people. And this instantly makes him an enemy of the Japanese Self-Defense Force. So your hero monster is now labeled an enemy. So when he eventually gets to fighting Iris, he's on his own. He's got no backup. He is on his own with almost everyone against him. And speaking of the monsters, all the suits are very well done. Gamera's design in Gamera 2 was one of the more iconic looks of Gamera, but this has always been my favorite incarnation of Gamera. He looks very mean, he looks menacing. This is the first time in Gamera's career where he's actually looked menacing, and I kind of like it. Iris is a weird monster. I mean, some of the special effects for Iris are really cool. When it starts out as a baby, there's some great animatronics with the tentacles, the way it moves, the way it interacts with Ayana. And then when it eventually becomes a monster, it's kind of cool looking and definitely proves to be a challenge for Gamera. And the Gauss are the Gauss from the past movies, except they're actually a little more slimmer because this is a different breed of Gauss, Hyper Gauss. They look a little slimmer than the ones featured in Guardian of the Universe. And the human characters actually matter at this point. We have Asagi back from the first two movies, who's lost her psychic link with Gamera, but we also have Miss Mayumi Nagamine from the first movie, who was trying to study the Gauss in the first movie. She comes back here since the Gauss are back. And both of them actually do a really good job in this movie. And then we have the main girl of the movie, Ayana, who basically forms the link with Iris and uses him to fight Gamera and kill him for the death of her parents. It's really nice to have the human element play into the monster action. It actually raises the emotional stakes. And that's something that I applauded the 1954 Godzilla for having, and the same thing applies for this movie here. So everything I'm saying about Gamera 3 makes it sound like it's a masterpiece of Japanese monster movies. But it's not perfect. There are some elements that this movie does that aren't quite as good as in the other movies. The action scenes are really cool. The special effects are great as ever, but there are many moments where the camera shakes a lot. It looks like it's digital shaking. It's an effect that just goes on for too long during the action scenes, and this would be a bad habit that Shusuke Kaneko would use once he went to make Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All Out Attack. So it can get a little irritating. Also, this is the first Gamera movie that really uses CG like a lot at points, and I'm not going to be too harsh on it because usually when computer animation is used in a kaiju movie in Japan, it looks like crap, but I just said it. It looks crap. It all looks like stuff from a video game. But what miniatures and suit work is used in this movie is used effectively. And then going back to the human characters, there's one human character that you could cut out from this movie. And it is this weird guy who dresses in all black, has long hair, does this a lot. And basically the way I could describe him, he looks like the Japanese Tim Curry. He has this weird smile, and every time I see him smile, I just want to think, I'm just a sweet transvestite! The reason why you could cut him out is because he's mainly there to serve exposition, and that's pretty much it. He really doesn't serve any purpose to the story outside of that. And there's a point where he's killed in the movie, and I'm just like, oh, thank God he's gone. And then the final battle between Gamera and Iris isn't as climactic as with Gamera and Legion, but because the emotional stakes are there, because you actually care about the human characters, and the fact that the ending is actually kind of powerful, it's one of those things where I can overlook some of the things that this movie does well, but not as well as the first two movies. Gamera 3, The Revenge of Iris is a fantastic monster movie. It's well acted, the special effects and action scenes are great, it has some emotional moments, it expands on the mythos of Gamera and this entire universe, and Gamera does something at the end of this movie that really shows how determined he is to defeat his enemy monster, and what he does in a situation where someone hates him. So again, the action sequences in the first two movies may have been a little better, but because the emotion is strong, because you have characters you care about, this is the first and only time I will ever say you need to get off your ass and go see this Gamera movie right now. Obviously, I recommend seeing the first two movies in this trilogy, but Gamera 3 is really, really fantastic, and one of the best kaiju films ever made. And that's my review for Gamera 3, Revenge of Iris, and the entire Gamera franchise. I hope you enjoyed watching these reviews because I had a fun time making them, and watching the movies, whether it was watching the 8 Showa movies for the first time, or revisiting the Kaneko trilogy and Gamera the Brave again. And since I'm probably not going to get around to making this list in the future or ever, here's how I rank the Gamera movies, from best to worst. Number 12 is Gamera vs. Zigra. Number 11 is Gamera vs. Barugon. Number 10 is Gamera vs. Jiger. Number 9 is Gamera the Super Monster. Number 8 is Gamera vs. Virus. Number 7 is Gamera the Giant Monster. Number 6 is Gamera vs. Gauss. Number 5 is Gamera the Brave. Number 4 is Gamera vs. Giran. And even though I like all three of these movies equally, for the sake of this list, I'm going to say Gamera Guardian of the Universe at number 3. Number 2 is Gamera 2 Attack of Legion. And number 1 is Gamera 3, The Revenge of Iris. So there you go, all 12 Gamera movies reviewed by me. Will there be a new Gamera movie in the future? I've heard rumors that there will be, but in time for this year, I don't think so. But I really hope to see a new Gamera movie in the future. Maybe they'll have his correct roar this time. But whether that comes or not, leave a comment and tell me what you thought of Gamera 3 if you've seen it, and how you rank the Gamera movies if you've seen any of them or all of them. Like, subscribe, go check out my video blog channel. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, go like my Facebook page. And this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you There is only one, and happy 50th anniversary to our favorite flying, fire-breathing guardian of the universe, Gamera.